my very loving students, it is always a great miss for me as a teacher to miss out the classes. But the unprecedented pandemic which has locked you down for so long, we have nothing to do. So, to break this silence, our school authority has come up, our judicious management, our honorable TIC and our academic members, the members of the staff council, all have come out abreast to handle the situation nicely. I thank everyone and thank you warmly. Today, as we meet through this medium, in this world of virtual world, technology has gone so up that we cannot but take this opportunity to meet you, to continue the system of education. We have no other things to do. So I congratulate everyone and I congratulate the initiative taken by our school, and I will be very much thankful to all these personalities who have made it possible today. I will not speak anymore beyond the subject. Today, my whole endeavor, my whole attempt is to continue with your syllabus, and if I would be precise enough to tell you that I am going to read out the poem Sea Fever by John Edward Masefield, and I think the selection of the poem during this locked down period match the feelings your physical isolation from the day-to-day activity as we have been doing over the years, over the months, over the weeks. So I must not talk irrelevant. Sea Fever is one of the most famous poems composed by John Masefield. Just I want to tell you something about John Masefield before going to the poem. John Masefield was a Briton. That means he was born in the United Kingdom. It was 1878. He was born there. And he died in 1967. It is often told the boy, John, took to the seas at the age of 13, and he was a trainee sailor or a trainee merchant, and he went to the seas on long voyages, once in Chile, another in the USA. And you know that he left the sea and the ship in the US and started his life as a worker in a carpet factory. Then he devoted himself to poetry and wrote poetry, novels, stories. So he may not be a very famous poet, but he was a laureate poet, and from the year 1930 till his death, he was a poet in the Palace of United Kingdom. This particular poem, Sea Fever, actually records the poet's irrepressible, irresistible desire, his longing to meet the sea. Actually, he had first-hand experience about sea, the quiet sea, the wild sea, because he was a sailor himself. So, the words he used in this poem, the phrases he noted in this poem, the images he had gathered in this poem are all from his first-hand experience and his experience of a mariner and his experience of a merchant mariner. He devoted all his skills. He actually put his heart out there in this particular poem. Thus, Sea Fever was written, and right now we can call it a very golden poem in the golden treasury of English language and literature. The poet actually focuses his whole heart, his whole attention on the lovely seascape, the pictures of the sea, and those objects of nature have become so alive as if they are persons and they are calling the poet, because the objects of the sea, the great objects of nature, are calling the poet passionately, and the poet cannot resist his cries. And what am I to tell you more before going to the poem? This poem is a rich imagery. This poem is full of figure of speech. One ornament after another has been used here to beautify the poem, to give us some clear images. And the device and the diction the poet has used in this poem are marvelous, focusing the movement of the sea. And students, before concluding for this part, you know that sea symbolizes so many things. It gives us myriad images, multifarious images. And this is the dynamic soul of nature. This is the force of nature which attracts man to explore not only the land beyond it, but also the beauty, the inside beauty of a sea and the outside beauty of a sea. So our sole focus, our sole attention could be that the poet here conveys his conviction that however wild, however cruel the sea is, the wind could be, but they have their own beauty and they can attract us. We'll go through the literal meaning of these lines, then we'll go to the metaphoric meanings or the deeper meaning of the poem. Here there are similes, metaphors, anaphora, and there are so many figure of speech have been used here. So I think you will enjoy the poem. You should not go for deeper meaning first, but take the literal meaning first, and then you can go deep and deeper into the depth of the seas to have some pearl, to have a symbolic meaning. Students, just I want to dive into the poem, just like the poet wants to dive into the sea with his ship. Before going to the poem, I should focus on the title. The title is Sea Fever. You know, students, fever and sea are unusual. Sea cannot have a fever. Fever is actually the excessive temperature or the abnormal temperature in our body. Fever means an uncontrolled condition or situation. Fever means something that is very much exciting, and in these days when fever, a symptom of COVID-19, haunts you like a ghost, fever, you know very much well, it actually raises some excitement in us. So what does the poet want to tell for sea fever? That means the poet's uncontrolled desire. That means the poet's high longing, his hunger, his thirst for meeting the sea, for going to the sea, for having a voice on the lap of the sea. So we will discuss later on the appropriateness of the title, but right now you must know sea fever means the poet's uncontrolled desire, irresistible desire, the undeniable attraction, the alluring power of the sea that works in him in a very uncomfortable way. So, sea fever does mean the uncontrollable or uncontrolled desire felt by the poet in his heart of hearts, in his very deep soul, for watching or for enjoying the lovely seascape. Students, I think you have understood the title Sea Fever, but right now I want to go through line by line analysis of the poem, and I think you will go through the text. The text is at the page number 48 of your book, and you need to know that textbook is a must for you, because if you don't go through the lines right now, you will fail to understand the poem, the magic in the poem, the music in the poem. So I think you have all opened the page number 48. Let's resume. The first line: I must go down to the seas again, to the lonely sea and the sky, and all I ask is a tall ship and a star to steer her by, and the wheels kick, and the wind's song, and the white sails shaking, and a grey mist on the sea's face, and a grey dawn breaking. Students, in the first line, I must go down to the seas again. I think you must underline the word must, and you must underline the word again. Here, students, you must know the word must, and the sentence actually starts with the subject I. Here you can see the narrator, the poet himself. So the poet and the narrator is referred here to by I. The word must actually, the word suggests that the poet, the intention of the poet or the going of the poet is a very is certain. Students, and the use of the word again suggests that this is not the first voice, this is not the first sojourning of the poet. Uh, the underlined words should be noted very carefully, my boys. Uh, to the lonely sea and the sky. Here the first line tells and echoes actually the title, the sea fever. That means the poet will go, rather I should say the poet shall go to the seas. Again, that means he had experiences. He had experiences. And right now, he wants to go once more. And he wants to go to the sea, to meet the sky. And the use of the adjective lonely just before the word sea tells us that the poet wants to tell the sea is lonely and the sky. Here, the critics say that the poet is himself lonely, or he was feeling lonely because he was not enjoying the sea, the beauty of the sea, the beauty of the seascape. So naturally he wants to feel joyous by associating himself associating himself with the sea and the sky. Actually, the poet wants to tell us that the poet wants a lonely sea, not a crowded one, and a lonely sky to enjoy the beauty at his best. The poet also wants to see and hear and wheels kick, and the wind's song, and the white sails shaking. Here in this line, students, you can follow the wheel W, winds W, and the white W. Here the consonant have been used frequently with the same sound, wheel W W W. This is called alliteration, you know all well. I think you know. uh, I don't think so much, I know you know. And here there is also the alliteration of S. And a grey mist on the sea's face, and a grey dawn breaking. Here the images, the lovely images, actually, lovely images are in this poem that will give you much enjoyment. And a grey mist on the sea's face. Here follow sea's face. The sea has been personified. Her face, that means the face, the surface of the water. The surface of the water is covered with mist, the gray color mist. And after the gray color mist, you know, it is early morning, there is semi darkness in the sky, so the color of the mist is gray, and the dawn is coming, because you know there is sun behind the mist, and whenever the sun comes out, the mist actually goes out. Here the pictures, the images, the grey mist on the sea's face, the grey dawn breaking. Actually, when you are reading this poem, I think your pen will tell you, let us not read the poem, let us paint a picture of the sea. I don't you think so? I think so. If you are a painter or not a painter, it doesn't matter, but actually it encourages you to take a brush and paint the wonderful picture of a great morning in the seashore, and the sunrise in the seashore behind the mist. So the wheels kick, the wind song, the white sails shaking, these are all personifications. So the poet in these four lines has actually told us that his wholehearted intention is to go down to the sea, and the beauty of the sea, the sights and sounds of sea. Actually, the sea is beautiful, the sea is bountiful, and the poet registers, records those beauties in his own unique way. And he has not borrowed any words, because he has had first-hand experiences. He enjoyed the sea and he wants to enjoy more. So the first quatrain, the first four lines, the first four line tells us or records us the wonderful beauty of the sea, where the poet wants to go, or wants to set out his journey. The first two lines uh, ending with sky and her by, and the third line shaking and fourth line breaking. They are rhymed couplets. The first line with second line, and the third line with fourth line. Up to this time, I have not given you any chance to interact me, but I am to tell you something more, because you are not ready to listen to my lecture. If I refrain myself from telling about the examination, actually the phobia of examination will help you to prepare this particular poem seriously. The first line, I must go down to the seas again. Here there are two questions. First question, where does the poet want to go? And does the poet have any previous experiences? And at the same time, I have told you to underline the word must and what the purpose was there, and what does the poet ask for the sea boys. The poet asks for the sea boys a tall ship. The word tall here, I have already told you, the word tall here is not actually the height or high something or lofty something. I have already told you it is well structured, well built, strong, that will give him some security for sea boys. So the ship is stir, and I have told you about pole stir. So the first four lines, we have completed the first four lines, and now I have given you some chances to interact with me. If you fail to understand anywhere, I think you students are always very much curious, and I am very much indebted to you because you asked me so many beautiful questions that have made me a teacher. So you can ask me questions. I am giving you 2 or 3 minutes times, then I will move into the second quatrain or second stanza. Sea's face. Another question, Sea's face. I have already told you, if you listen to the audio very clearly, Sea's face is actually the face of the sea. But students, you can easily imagine or think that there could not be a face of the sea. So what does sea face means? Actually the surface water of the sea. And the poet has used here a figure of speech, that is personification. An apostrophe has been used after the word sea. So sea's face is actually an example of personification, but literally the word means the surface water of the sea. Now the phrase wheel's cake. Actually the word wheel is related to the steer. Already you have seen the word steer, and the related to the word steer, the wheel's kick. That means when it actually gives you a picture of a turbulent sea, the rough sea, the stormy waves, the rushing waves. Actually the wheel's kick means the thrust of the water, the thrust of the waves lashing at the wheel. The thrust of the waves lashing at the wheel is wheel's kick. Actually this particular word, I have underlined it, you can easily see. The particular word wheel's kick actually gives us a picture, and it gives us a message, it gives us a sound, it gives us a sense to our ears. So this is clearly an image, and this image tells us that how rough the sea could be, and the wheel is actually the wheel is actually fighting with the waves of the sea. So students, you must not be worried with this particular wheel's kick. Actually this is nothing, it is a technical, it is a mechanical instrument which is equipped to the ship. Students, it's a nice question. In the first line we can see the word seas, the plural form of seas. we also use the plural form of the word sky, skies. Actually, seas, here, sea is, actually sea has no direction. We cannot find any east, west, north, south of the sea in our bare eyes, because sea is so vast. So to denote the vastness of the sea, and the poet wants to have all liberty and freedom to enjoy the sea journey. So the poet wants to tell that he has not a definite direction, that he has not a very measured direction or definite direction, or uh, pre-planned direction to move into the sea. He will enjoy sea, he will travel, he will enjoy every liberty, he will enjoy the freedom, the mood of freedom, actually been arrested in this particular word seas. So you can easily understand. Thank you. Now students, let me move into the second quatrain, and the second quatrain starts with the same sentence as the first quatrain started. I must go down to the seas again, for the call of running tide is a wild call and a clear call that may not be denied. I have read up to the sixth line. I must go down to the seas again. The first line and the fifth line echo the same sentiment. Within a poem, if a phrase or clause repeats in the stanzas, in figure of speech we call it anaphora. We call it anaphora, anaphora, the repetition of the phrases, sentences, or clauses in this way. And you can also think the third stanza starts with the same line, and uh, all I ask in the seventh line, you can see in the second lines, seventh line and second line also echo the same. This is also an example of anaphora. So students, in the second stanza, I must go down to the seas again. You should not expect the meaning of it. But why? Because the call of running tide, that means the call of waves, which is running and running and running, never ending, ever traveling tide, actually calling the poet. A tide or a wave cannot call, but the poet has again personified the waves of the sea. And the call is a wild call, that means an uncontrolled call, and a clear call that may not be denied. The poet cannot deny. The poet speaks us very nicely that he cannot deny, because the call is irresistible. He cannot ignore those beautiful, those alluring calls of nature. So when the call cannot be controlled, so it is called wild call, because the poet cannot control this call of nature, call of the sea, the call of the waves anymore. And the call is very much clear, that actually invites the poet to go down to the sea again. Actually, these are the pictures postcard. The running tide, and amid the running tide, nature has invisibly written to the poet, come, enjoy me. This is the call actually. This is the unwritten calls of nature. These are the invisible calls of, invisible and inaudible calls of nature. You have to understand it. Actually, it is a passionate poem. You have to read it out with so much passion. I must go down to the seas again, for the call of the running tide is a wild call and a clear call that may not be denied. You should not deny the call the call that poet has created in us, actually the wild call, the clear call, these are the inevitable calls of nature that rouse the poet to dive him into the ocean of beauty. Students, this is a poem of 12 lines. We have read out 6 lines. I think today we should call it a day, and we'll come back again according to the routine. But before calling goodbye, I want to tell you that you must memorize or cram out these 6 lines, and you read these lines and words and the word meanings very well. In Madhyamik examination, nothing hard is expected of you, but you have to prepare yourself. So I want to tell you, actually I have made the videos, but today I have to do it through audios because of net does not work, or it is working rather slowly. So be patient, be careful, and ask me all the questions that will come out in you. Until then, I have to say goodbye. Thank you. I think you have enjoyed the poem, and I will complete the poem on the next day, and I will discuss all the question and answers uh, that generally appear in the examination. Till then, goodbye, boys.